We're a year and a half after you sold the company, but we'll get bogged down. Let's talk politics.
Mehdi, that's dead wrong, and I would sorry to say you're embarrassing yourself in front of anybody who knows anything about biotech for knowing that phase 3 trials are the final stage.
Okay.
The final stage, the FDA phase 3 studies succeeded. So you're barking up the wrong tree.
Vivek Ramaswamy has done it again. Facing an unrelenting barrage of questions from MSNBC's Mehdi Hasan, he didn't just defend his record. He took control of the conversation, exposing the media's bias and turning their narrative on its head. From his groundbreaking biotech career to controversial takes on election integrity, this debate wasn't just a clash of ideas. It was a battle for the truth. And let me tell you, Vivek didn't back down. This fiery exchange is more than just politics. It's a masterclass in handling media spin and staying composed under pressure. Buckle up, because we're about to break down the key moments that had everyone talking. The interview started with Mehdi Hasan coming out swinging, accusing Vivek of profiting from a so-called pump-and-dump scheme during his time in biotech. Hasan claimed that Ramaswamy's company hyped up an Alzheimer's drug, cashed in, and left investors holding the bag when the drug ultimately failed. Hasan didn't stop there. He went on to frame Vivek's career as one built on opportunism rather than innovation. But Vivek wasn't about to let those accusations fly uncontested. With the calm demeanor of someone who's been here before, Ramaswamy fired back. Mehdi, with all due respect, you're peddling opposition research without understanding the facts. 99.7% of Alzheimer's drugs fail. My company took risks that most wouldn't. And, yes, we failed on that one. But let's talk about the dozens of FDA-approved therapies we developed that are saving lives today. Hasan doubled down, pointing to investor losses and painting Vivek as a Wall Street profiteer. But Vivek, unshaken, dismantled the argument with precision. You're missing the bigger picture. I didn't cash out early. I retained my shares. I shared in the same losses. And unlike most in this industry, we didn't stop. We kept innovating.
Talk about your business background. Let's talk about that. You made your name and made a lot of your early big money from pushing an Alzheimer's drug that had already failed 4 clinical trials when you bought it. You then talked it up on CNBC, in Forbes, on the cover. Your company's subsidiary shot up by billions in value when it went public in 2015. But then the drug failed its phase 3 trial on your watch. The company lost 75% of its value in a single day. Ordinary investors like the California State Teachers Pension Fund lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you cashed out beforehand via your parent company to the tune of, I believe, over $37 million. Your critics say it's a classic pump and dump scheme. What do you say to them?
Yeah, Mehdi, that's the standard opposition research during politics reading line. Anybody in the biotech industry knows this story very well. 99.7% of Alzheimer's drugs have failed. That's thousands of drugs. Mine was one of them. But the company I founded, Roivant, developed a range of medicines. And the way I made my money was not through the failure of that Alzheimer's drug. This is one of the pieces of misinformation from opposition research. I could have sold shares in that subsidiary Alzheimer's company, but didn't. So the person who was hurt by that was me.
Hold on. But you say this a lot, but you did sell shares in Roivant, and you made $37 million.
And Mehdi,
$37 million.
Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience. Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience to be accurate. That is shares in a different company, not Axovant. And those shares that I sold are worth, and those shares are worth dramatically more today. So I would have made more money.
And today, Roivant is a $10 billion company with a record most startups can only dream of. To really understand this, let's look at the details. Vivek Ramaswamy's company, Roivant Sciences, is known for taking on high-risk projects in drug development. Yes, the Alzheimer's drug failed, a harsh but common reality in biotech, where success rates are abysmally low. But what Hasan conveniently left out is that Roivant's overall success rate far outpaces the industry average. In fact, 5 of the drugs developed under Vivek's leadership are now FDA approved, including life-saving treatments for cancer and other critical diseases. So, was it a pump and dump? Hardly. Vivek retained ownership of his shares and took the same financial risks as other investors. If anything, his story is one of resilience and commitment to innovation. But the conversation didn't stop at biotech. Hasan quickly pivoted to one of the most polarizing topics in American politics: election integrity. He pressed Vivek on his criticism of the 2020 election process and whether he believed Donald Trump's claims of widespread fraud. Ramaswamy didn't take the bait. Instead, he shifted the focus to solutions. If I were vice president in 2020, I would have pushed for election reforms before certifying the results. One-day voting, paper ballots, voter ID. These are common sense measures that restore trust in the system. That's leadership. Hasan scoffed, arguing that such reforms couldn't have been implemented in time. But Vivek's response was pure strategy. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary action. Leaders find a way, not excuses. My focus isn't on rehashing the past. It's on ensuring the future is fair and secure. This wasn't just a rebuttal. It was a reframing of the entire debate. Then came the so-called gotcha question, a staple of political interviews. Hasan brought up a $50,000 scholarship Vivek had accepted from a Soros-affiliated organization years ago. You oppose affirmative action, yet you took Soros money. Isn't that hypocritical? Hasan asked, clearly expecting to land a knockout punch. Vivek's reply: calm, calculated, and devastating. Mehdi, I was 24, fresh out of college, and $50,000 made a real difference back then. The scholarship was merit-based, with no strings attached. If you're implying this was some ideological alignment, you're grasping at straws. He didn't stop there. Why are we wasting time on a decades-old scholarship when the country faces real issues?
Vivek, not only do you not mention anything about November, but let's say you did do November. That joint session was not a legislative
that's still ambitious.
session.
That's
the
still
vice
ambitious.
president doesn't have the power to introduce legislation. Neither party would have backed such a bill.
Oh, come on,
and it couldn't have been passed in a day.
The fact of the matter is,
naive stuff.
The
that can't
president,
be done.
the president and vice president absolutely drive legislation through Congress. That is exactly how
but
things
Trump
work.
wasn't doing legislation.
Now,
he was busy pushing the big lie, as you pointed out yourself in your book.
Well,
so he wasn't
and
there.
I wasn't
Mike
the vice
Pence
president of the
could not
United States.
have passed a bill, but
and
you
I
were
was
asked
not the
what you
vice
would have
president
done
of the
if you
United
were
States.
Mike Pence.
You guys in the
What
media,
would you have done?
you guys in the MSNBC crack me up to sort of create a hypothetical situation to say, if you had been vice president, what would you have been doing? I'm telling you exactly what I've been doing, but you're saying, but that's not what Donald Trump was doing. This is
Mike
a joke.
Pence asked you,
Let's
hold on,
actually
Vivek,
have
hold
a
on.
substantive conversation. Do you
on.
want to have a substantive conversation
Hold
about
on.
what should have happened, or do you want to play a game of gotcha? Because you have the choice. The choice is yours. Do you actually want to have a substantive conversation? If you do, I'm down to do it. Do you want a substantive conversation? What we need.
You said substantive 4 times.
Actually, if you want to get a word in, you know, if you're going to speak the truth and ask a legitimate question, have at it.
I think
Let's
it is a
actually have a
legitimate
substantive
question. Multiple
conversation.
people wondered about your knowledge of how Congress works, suggesting Mike Pence, by the way, on the debate stage asked you if you would have supported what he did. It's not an MSNBC question. It's a Republican vice president question.
Yes.
So fine, you don't want to answer
what I'm
you
saying
think you
is
could have
it
passed
was
the
a
bill.
missed opportunity for heroism, not in one day, but I think that in a period of 2 months. And I think you're a smart guy.
It couldn't have been done in a lame duck
There's
Congress,
an American
Vivek. You're
confidence.
a smart guy. You know it couldn't have been done in 2 months.
I think under extraordinary circumstances, in extraordinary times, we have an American Confidence in Elections Act. It's literally making its way through Congress now. ACE. I support it. I think if we had gotten that done during that window, further we said single-day voting on
Democrats
election
wouldn't
day
have
as a
agreed to
national
voting
holiday.
ID, and Mitch McConnell wouldn't have agreed to a national
I think
holiday.
Democrats should agree
we can
to
argue
it.
forever.
I
We can argue forever
think
about that.
Democrats should agree to it.
That's a
And
different
that's what I
argument. It
stand
wouldn't
for.
have
I
happened,
think
is
we're
what
still
I'm
going to get
saying.
that done when I'm the president.
Okay.
When
So
I'm
you
the
said
president,
recently, so
not
you
in some
make a lot of-
fantasy land where I was vice president in some
So
other
let's-
year in the historical
let's
history.
talk about you as
but
president.
in actual, what I'm running for,
Understood.
this is what we're going to do.
Let me ask a question so we don't run out of time. Please don't filibuster. I just want to ask a question about...
This obsession with trivia is exactly why Americans are losing trust in the media. Hasan tried to push further, but the damage was done. Vivek had flipped the script, exposing the question for what it was: a distraction. The debate reached its peak when Hasan demanded Vivek clarify his stance on Donald Trump. You've called Trump a danger to democracy. What exactly did he do that was so abhorrent? Hasan asked, pushing for a definitive condemnation. Vivek didn't dodge the question but offered a nuanced take. Leadership isn't just about what you do. It's about what you don't do. Trump missed an opportunity to unite the country after January 6th. I would have handled it differently. But let's be clear, bad judgment isn't a crime. Censorship and weaponizing the justice system, that's where the real danger lies.
Be crystal clear, between George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump, those are the presidents of the 21st century. Donald Trump is unambiguously, as judged by the results, the best president of the 21st century. Kept us out of wars, grew the economy. I give him full credit for that. I want to build on that foundation and take this country to the next level.
But you've also called him a sore
Does that mean
loser
I would have
who is
made
a danger to democracy. Those are strong words.
Would I have made the same judgments that he has made at every step of the way? No. I will remind you that I am running for U.S. president because I am best positioned to lead this country forward.
Can I ask you what they are, Vivek?
Yes.
You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy. What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
Let's actually be really fair to your audience. So on January 10th, 2021, thereabouts, days after that incident, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal arguing that censorship was the real cause of what happened on January 6th. When asked in response, somebody asked me the question, are you... That's what I wrote. I'm giving you the facts of what I said. That's a hard fact. That was published in the Wall Street Journal. When pressed on, was that condoning what Trump did? My answer was no. There's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime.
And
we
you're
need to
my
be
question.
able to tell the difference in this country.
What did Donald Trump do,
no, I'm not avoiding
in your view, that was downright abhorrent? Second time
I think that the thing that I would have done differently if I were in his shoes
not what I asked,
is
Vivek,
I would have
respect.
declared re-election on January 7th.
I'll ask it a third time.
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So you're mixing two different quotes. But what did I think was reprehensible about what happened that day? Look, I think that the way a true leader should have handled that situation should have been to actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have done things differently. That is not a crime, though, what he did. And the reason I have been so vehement...
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No, unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you... You're stitching together three things from three different places.
Let's put up the tweet.
Create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Yes, I want you to answer my on screen. What did he do that was downright abhorrent?
I believe that failing to unite this country falls short of what a true leader ought to do. That is why I'm in this race, is to do things differently than any prior president has done them. That's the hard truth, okay?
And that's what made him a sore loser and abhorrent.
The media and the reality is none of that is a crime. And the reason I have been so vocal, the reason I have been so vocal is because when somebody actually prosecutes somebody for a bad judgment, and I've been clear,
I understand your objections to the litigation.
I would have made different judgments.
That's not what I asked about. I understand.
That is a distinction we have.
This response didn't just address the question. It elevated the conversation, steering it away from partisan mudslinging and toward a broader critique of systemic issues. This interview wasn't just a clash of personalities. It was a clash of ideologies. Hasan represented the entrenched narratives of legacy media, while Vivek embodied the disruptive energy of a new generation of leaders challenging the status quo. By refusing to play by the media's rules, Ramaswamy demonstrated why he's a rising star in American politics. He didn't just survive the interview, he owned it, turning every accusation into an opportunity to showcase his vision for the country. Vivek Ramaswamy's performance in this interview wasn't just a win for him. It was a win for anyone tired of media spin and shallow soundbites. He showed that it's possible to navigate tough questions without compromising on principles. More importantly, he reminded us that real leadership isn't about pandering to narratives. It's about challenging them. So, what do you think? Did Vivek handle this interview like a pro? Or do you think Hasan's criticisms had merit? Let us know in the comments below.